All right, so jumping right in, what was it that drew you to the brother's son?
First of all, I'd say it was the story. So I think there was a tremendous amount of resonance with the theme. The idea of family is really important in our story, and I myself am very close to my family. I love my parents, I love my siblings. So being able to tell a story that touched on that was really exciting to me. And second, the fact that the story matches so closely to my own blended upbringing. I grew up in Taiwan and Los Angeles. That's exactly where our show is set. So anytime I come across something that touches on shooting in Taiwan or LA, I immediately get giddy. Also, the character of Charles was probably, as an actor, you're lucky if you get 3 to 4 auditions that resonate with you each year. And out of the hundreds of auditions that I've been on, this role of Charles by far resonated with me the most and was the one that I was most excited for. And I think it was because, one, my favorite actor is Tom Hardy. And I think what he does the best is he plays these characters that are menacing and brutal and ruthless, but also have a vulnerable side. And that's what I find most interesting to watch as well. So I felt like I had an opportunity to attempt to do something like that with this character. And also, like, this, when I read this character and I read the sides, I was like, I don't know what it is. When I first read it, I didn't know what it was, but I knew that that was me. I knew that I could play that character, and I knew that I was Charles. And so in a way, it gave me a sense of peace through the audition process. I was so certain of how I wanted to do it, because I think part of what I did was give the performance that I think I would want to watch, and not what I think the creatives wanted to see. So all of that made this project just so tremendously special to be a part of.
So you said that you saw, like, you kind of resonated with Charles and you saw kind of that commonality there. But I'm curious, in kind of bringing him to life, whether you like what parts of yourself you kind of worked into him after the fact, like as you were playing him.
Totally. In the process of creating this character, even though I'm so different from him, I don't kill people on a regular basis. I thought it was just kind of a radical idea to be myself and to bring myself to this role, because that way there's nothing to hide behind. If people like it or they don't, that's me they're watching. So that was probably the first choice. And that really opened the door to bringing in my own experiences, my own background. I used them as jumping off points. So a big part of my process was, I guess, remembering the moments that I've shared with my father or my mother or my brothers, and how all those moments have shaped me into the person that I am today. Like the happy moments, the sad moments, all of my memories I try to incorporate as jumping off points, because those things then helped inspire the character's imaginary background and the things that I would have felt as Charles. And then myself as well, I'm a huge fan of martial arts. So I started training in Muay Thai about 10 years ago, and I've been doing jiu-jitsu pretty intensely for the last 4 years. I just got my blue belt, and I did a competition earlier this year. So those things were also part of crafting the character. There was something about being in a stunt training environment that helped me mold into the physicality that I wanted to have for Charles. In terms of, like, I wanted there to be a weight to his walk, like ready to fight at any moment. And also in terms of adjusting his posture as well. So all of those things were just so much fun to work into. And I'm really, I love the character of Charles, and I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to play him.
So you talked kind of about Charles having that, that toughness and that vulnerability at the same time. And I think that really speaks to the whole show, because there is a lot of violence, but there is this, like, family, the vulnerability. But there's also, like, there's comedy with Charles. There's like a will they, won't they romance. Right. There's all of that. So I guess my question is, for you as a performer, like, what is your trick way to, like, kind of strike the balance between all of those things going on?
That's a great question. I think for me, it always starts with the story. I think once I've immersed myself deeply enough in the story, I know how my character will respond, and I know how he feels, and I'm feeling those things as they're happening. So that's the first thing I think is like the committed preparation and research and immersion into the story and the role. And then also is when sparks of inspiration or maybe like things that are more just and come out, I just run with it because I think those are the moments that they may or may not work. They might be a little risky. They might be a little messy, but I think those are the moments where I know I'm truly present and I'm out of my head and I'm just trusting whatever happens. So in terms of the humor, like there are moments where I'm like, oh, I don't know if Charles would do that, but let's just do it anyway. So like there's a moment where we're both getting scolded and I think I go like behind my mom's back. And like that's something that I've done with my siblings as well, like to tease them. So yeah, I'd say incorporating, one is immersing myself deeply into the story and then just incorporating and experiencing whatever it is that happens on the day.
So I have to ask, working on the show, your mom is played by the legendary Michelle Yeoh. What is that like working with such a screen legend?
It was definitely intimidating at first, but I overcame that very quickly only because she is the coolest gal. She is so down to earth. She is so in command of her ability that she's able to almost glide through set and deliver right away. And I learned a lot from her. I learned that you can be this force of character and this force of acting. It was like watching a masterclass every day, but that you could also be just a down-to-earth, chill, warm person. I remember like some of my fondest memories is when we'd hang out at her place and crack open a bottle of wine and like snack and just shoot the shit. Like she is Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh, but she's also just my friend Michelle.
Also, too, your dynamic with Sam, who plays Bruce, as an older sibling, is very authentic to the sibling relationship. So, kind of, how did the two of you forge that brotherly bond in prepping for this?
Yeah, so I myself am the oldest sibling of 4 kids, so that banter and that like big brotherness, it's so natural to me, and it's very natural for Sam as well. A funny story is actually when I was going into our final callback, Bruce in the script was described as like, the scrawny, a little bit on the nerdier side, and I walk in and I see him and he's this big tall boy and I was like, oh my God, he's huge. But luckily it worked out for us. We developed that just through time and being in the trenches together and bonding over shared humor and our love for this show and our characters. And we'd screw around with each other on set just to keep things light. Like we'd tease each other or like, play like very small harmless pranks or like take really ugly photos of each other. So it was a lot of fun working with him.
So the authentic sibling experience.
Yeah, I definitely see him as my little brother.
So what was your biggest challenge then in making the show and prepping and filming and at any stage?
That is a great question. Apart from the obvious answer, which included some like the bigger fight, I don't know if you've seen the whole thing.
I've seen the whole thing.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm really glad you have. Physically, the biggest challenges were the golf scene, but also the giant fight in episode 1, because that was actually my first 2 days on set and my first days ever of TV work. But luckily I had a wonderful dance partner in Nate Andrade. He's like 6'8", 6'9". He's like Thanos' stunt double. He can kick above his head. He's more flexible than me. But so he shepherded me through the whole process. And I'm really grateful that I got to have such a wonderful partner for that first challenging day. But in terms of the acting, I think the biggest challenge for me was letting go of the idea of should, or what I think a scene should be like, what would make a good scene, because I think that puts my headspace in the wrong, it puts my headspace in the wrong focus. And I think for me, it was just reminding myself to trust that the hard work was done, that I was Charles, and that all I need to do was focus on my scene partner and just let whatever come out, and just trust that it was going to be good no matter what. So I think I was able to let go for most of it.
So kind of letting instinct
Yeah,
guide
just
to an
letting
extent.
it happen, and really the fundamentals of what good acting is. Not trying to like say a line a certain way or deliver a look a certain way, but just be there and look at the person and receive what they're giving, and then give back as authentically as possible.
And then as I wrap up, what is it that you are especially looking forward to people seeing, be it like a theme or a certain episode, a certain sequence? What are you most excited for people to see?
I'm most excited for people to see my real life mother in this show. So I don't know if you know, but my mom is one of the mahjong aunties. In episode
Oh,
3, I get to share a scene with Michelle, who plays my mom, and my real life mom. And I think that by far is the most special thing to me of this entire process, even though it was so special in so many different ways. Because my mom, when she was younger, she also had dreams of being an actor. And I helped her tape this audition. I coached her through it. I got to be the one that made the call to be like, hey, you got the part. And, you know, I remember we drove to set in the morning. My mom's based in Taiwan, but she was staying with me at the time. We pulled up to set and I showed her trailer, which had her name on it. And she got to go into hair and makeup and get pampered. And then on set, she had her own chair that someone was super sweet. They wrote Justin's mom on it. And then as, you know, I remember watching her as she's bonding with the other mahjong aunties. They're like giggling and like being like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, I remember I could just see her like smiling ear to ear the whole time. And like the fact that I got to play a part in bringing my mom that joy was, it still makes me emotional now, and I'm so grateful that I got to share that with her.
that's so sweet. And I think that's the perfect note to wrap this up on. Thank you so, so much. The show was great.
Thank you. Thanks for
I
watching
can't wait
all
to
of it. I'm glad you
yeah.
I'm glad you did.
I'm excited to share it with my own mom because she loves like
Amazing.
action, like
Amazing.
that is her thing. So I'm very excited
Great.
about that.
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
It's very nice to meet you.